everyone. I hope you're having a good time with Marietta and Severin. And I also want to say that I'm super happy that you are there today, that you take the time to help us to evaluate and to co-create this new Unleash, and that you help us to figure out where we can improve and how things should look like in the future. Now, for the future, we have also already made some thoughts, and I would like to give you a little introduction into what those are, so that you can maybe see that as a jumping board for where the next ideas could come to. And we would just like to include you in these thoughts and these ideas that we have already put together. So just follow. I will now show you a picture of the Unleash wheel as such. And the Unleash wheel basically shows how we imagine the Unleash cycle to look like next year. So the next cycle starts in September. And then what you can see is different already is that actually there will only be 4 trainings. So in September, in November, in February, and in May. We decided to do that because we could just see that it's the feedback we already kind of took into consideration all points to the fact that there's simply been too much. And so we want to put it a little bit down with the intensity of the trainings. And instead we want to create 2 trainings in December and in June that we call the host training. So it will only be trainings that gives and supports the host teams to have everything they need to be able to work in the structure, to be able to know everything they need to know, and to actually work a bit more on their teamwork instead of it being a bit more rushed as it was now. It will still be this personal level, the team level, the institutional level, and the societal level. So this still goes kind of in a cycle. So you could say that still next year we still imagine that people start in September. But something we thought about and that we find really, really brilliant is the idea that there's actually flexible entry points. That means if you discover Unleash around here in the year, feel free to just join here. And as soon as you paid, you have 4 times that you can try out to be part. So yes, it builds on each other to start on the personal level, but we also saw that it actually doesn't matter that much. You still have a great experience no matter in which weekend you enter. So we want it to be possible for people to join when they actually want to join, whenever it's right time for them, and then just continue 4 times. So let's see. And please say what you think about that. Then we quickly go to how the RevLab will look like in the next cycle, or how we imagine it to be part of Unleash. Because we still imagine it to be part of Unleash. As you can see, there are 4 RevLab trainings, 1 in September, 1 in November, 1 in February, and 1 in May. And these RevLab trainings are still lying at the same time as the Unleash and are still connected to the Unleash trainings, because it's cool to do it that way. And people have get a lot out of seeing and experiencing each other and sharing and so on. But what is not 100% sure yet is how this RevLab and Unleash should be fitting together. Because what we could do is either we could have the host still making sure that these trainings happen, or we could simply find a completely new team that is more separated from the host and who works more directly with the RevLab trainings. Yeah. That's also something we would like to ask you what you think about. But for sure, one thing that we have come to realize when we look at RevLab and when we look at Unleash, we start to think a lot about, hey, what is actually the juiciness in both of them? What is it that they can both provide? And then we came to the conclusion that actually RevLab, it used to be a lot about impact, but why not making it about anything that has to do with facilitating and organizing transformative events? So RevLab in our understanding and how we start to talk about it is more kind of the doing aspect, the training where you learn to do stuff. It's very tangible. It's like a boot camp of concrete tools and techniques that you can just go and become this amazing facilitator and organize your transformative event, which could be impact. Then there's Unleash, and Unleash is more about being. It's really more about this exploration and sharing and coming together around the cutting edge of work and life. And there it's much more untangible. It's much more about experiencing and exploring together and being in this unknown, uncertain place. So almost like this big interactive TED Talk experience. So they really provide two different experiences. And we really like to see it like this. And the last thing maybe important to tell you is that as you notice here, Revolution Lab, if we do it this way, and if we still have it follow Unleash, there will only be 4 trainings a year. And then you might think, well, what about impact? And we thought that actually, why don't we try to not stress the fact there should be 2 impacts a year? Why don't we just try to say, hey, impact can happen maybe 1 time a year, maybe here in spring. It doesn't have to happen 2 times a year. And it only has to happen if there are people who really would like it to happen and would like to facilitate it and organize this event. If groups or teams rather want to organize other events, we want to be open for them to be able to do that and use the RevLab experience to do this instead. Yeah, so that was more or less what we were thinking of creating and what our thoughts at this point, what they're looking like, that we would like to improve and how we could change the structure as it is now. So please now feel free to give your feedbacks and opinions and seeings on what I just explained to you all, and have a really nice day. I hope you will go for beer later and that there are good snacks at Severin's. Have a good day. Bye.